aboard! All aboard! All aboard! All aboard!
Okay, we are back with Two Left Feet. A lot has happened in the world this last week.
Again. God, it just keeps doing that.
Why, right? It's almost like the news cycle keeps getting shorter as well.
That's right. Is it possible that life is getting faster every day? Anyway.
On a depressing note, like on an existential note, it does feel that way as you get older. Like when I was young, it felt like days lasted so long.
Oh.
It's kind of sad. Okay, but moving on to more sad things. A CEO was shot. And personally, I think we
Brian
should...
Thompson.
Brian Thompson is his name. I think we should get the FBI on it. I think we should devote all of our resources to it. The way we defend Israel is the way we should defend the CEO, is what I believe.
Or maybe we should find out what he was up to and why they deny so many people their health care.
What? That's crazy.
I mean, what
wild idea.
Yeah. What was crazy was that something like 70% or more of all the email they got afterwards was anti the CEO, which was absolutely staggering and brought attention to the country.
Yes.
That there's possibly a little bit of a problem with the healthcare system.
We live in Canada, and our healthcare system is by no means perfect. But, that being said, I would not be standing here if I lived in America. I'm literally wearing the bone screws from my broken leg, which put me out of work for, in total, over a year. Probably. Like, considering all the time off, then getting it removed. This is the bone plate that screwed my leg together. I was able to walk out of there with no charge other than the ongoing prescription drugs that was required, as well as the fee for the ambulance. Which...
yeah, it's a good example.
I think it would still be great if that was covered too, but... leagues better than in America. I would be a dead man, or at the very least homeless, probably.
And most politicians and healthcare officials in the United States mock the Canadian system.
Yeah.
Probably because it doesn't make anywhere near as much profit as the U.S. system.
Probably exactly why. Which goes right into this sentiment that has been overwhelming around the globe, really. Very clear to see on the internet, but it's almost like everyone is on the assassin's side. And just to jump in here, we don't condone violence on the Two Left Feet podcast, but even beyond that, I don't believe in violence. I mean, well, sometimes history shows that revolution is necessary, but in terms of like capital punishment, I'm anti-capital punishment. I just want to get that out there. What we're talking about more so is the sentiment and the reaction of this, and why a lot of people feel like it's justified after being ignored by their government and by their healthcare system for so long. Suddenly, this random shooter seems to care more about them than
what seems to have come to the front of the stage over this, and of course everybody's sympathetic about, and the man was killed, so a family has had a huge loss.
Sure. Yeah.
But what has come front stage in terms of political discussion about this is the hypocrisy of the healthcare system in the United States, and the fact that it spends so much of its time raking in money and then finding endless ways to deny people their benefits.
What you're saying
And that is the game that is being played every day.
Yes. When you have a for-profit healthcare system, the natural end result of that is the majority of the job ends up becoming figuring out how to not give healthcare, because that's expensive.
That's right. That's a cost, and we have to get rid of costs at all costs.
Yes, exactly. So,
and anyone within the health system, whenever this discussion comes up, it's always swept aside, number one, and number two, always minimized. It's always, well, there are one or two problems, perhaps. And then, boom, on we go, rifling the wallets of US citizens day after day over their health, their well-being, something we should care about above all else.
Something I believe should be a human right, and which, as Canadians, we are kind of used to it being at least a semi-right, right?
Yeah.
So this is a great segue into mainstream media and how they've covered this topic, because day one, everyone's being like, this is a travesty, murder on the streets in New York City, we have to catch this man.
How does a man kill someone on the streets of New York and then disappear on a bicycle?
Into Central Park, I believe, right?
Into Central Park,
Which
and then to the bus station.
We have an update today. I don't know if we'll get into all right, we've done enough lead up into this, I think. The way mainstream media has been covering this. Initially, he was a demon. Now, a lot of these places are a little bit shocked at how...
So shocked that they are hiring more security. They have... there's been a sudden change in the whole industry. They are building walls, even more walls than they had before.
Okay, so you're getting into how paranoid the insurance agencies are becoming. 100%. Let's cover that in a second. But just about the media, I want to bring up a direct example of CNN talking about this and not realizing that they're saying kind of the opposite of what their audience believes. This even happened to Ben Shapiro, actually. Ben Shapiro immediately came out saying, like, oh, this is insane, we have to catch this guy. Meanwhile, his own audience turned against him for one of the few times in history. Because it's like, this is the one unifying issue in America, is healthcare. And
it's awful.
They've been treated like animals for the longest time.
Yeah.
So here's CNN. So this is a CNN broadcast talking about this, and it's interesting. Take a look at the comments.
CNN has obtained new surveillance video from the fatal shooting.
Thoughts and deductibles to the family. Unfortunately, my condolences are out of network. For those of you who don't know, out of network is when your insurance company is not, like, if you're in a different state, they will be like, no, sorry, you're out of network.
Oh, you're not on the system.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We don't cover those hospitals, bruh.
Wow.
Praying for his speedy escape and long, healthy life. They're talking about the shooter.
Of the United Healthcare CEO.
Was this out of network?
That the video is, of course, disturbing.
Thoughts and co-pays to the family.
Take us through.
Wow.
This was out of pocket.
Yeah, Phil and Brianna.
The thousands of likes on every one of these comments.
Yeah.
It shows where the majority sentiment is when it comes to an issue like this.
9,000 likes.
Yeah.
So we are only showing a few
2,800
seconds of this
likes.
video that CNN obtained.
These comments are straight through. I had septicemia and they denied me a PICC line for my 2x a day
2 times a day.
Vanco treatment. Sat in the ER lot for 8 hours fighting with them. I ended up in the ICU. See, these denials.
Thousands of stories, tens of thousands of
Yeah.
stories. And this is something that the America of capitalism, which is America, ignores every day, day after day. The misery and the agony for the money, for the money.
Give me that sweet green, baby. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you wait in your van for 8 hours and then you almost died? Saved us a clean couple $1,000s there. So, win-win. Let's just. It's a pretty short
very
clip.
alarming to watch.
Just a
And
minute.
Essentially, what we see in that video.
I'm impressed by
is
how
the
good he
CEO
executed the hit. It's flawless. The only part missing is the CEO didn't get a chance to see who cut his TV off. He was just walking and it ended out of nowhere.
Private healthcare, Brian Thompson.
I don't even, that seems like
No, move
a
on.
Zoomer thing.
Just completed
Walking
my open
forward.
enrollment at work last week and felt so disgusted at the amount I had to pay for the next to nothing benefits I receive. It just seems criminal to me. So, who's criminal?
The insurance
The
agency.
insurance agency is criminal.
Almost.
Will they be charged?
Exactly. So, what we're getting at, it's the core of this, is that exploitation, criminal, like inhuman levels of exploitation, is codified into law in America, in most Western civilization, here in Canada too. It's just to a very extreme degree there in a lot of areas, especially healthcare, which seems insane. And
there's something rotten in capitalist America is the message, and a lot of them are so busy counting their money day after day that it's sort of annoying to have to deal with realities like claims for healthcare.
yes, and we're so unified on this. We're agreeing so much. I don't want to spoil it. I would just argue that it's not necessarily, there's nothing specifically unique about American capitalism. It's more so that capitalism in general has a deep rot in its very core, and for a while you might get some benefits from it, even though some people are always going to be on the top. But inherently, the system becomes something like this.
Yeah, and a parallel that...
So we agree on that.
Well, yeah,
Too.
with this
Okay.
couple of things we agree on. But a parallel to that I'd like to, I think is good for people to think about, is that marketing started out caring about people in the same way. It's like as the health system is supposed to. Marketing cared about people, and it was all fascinated with human behavior and people and helping us to find what we needed and to give us good value for our money in the 70s, the 1970s. And then since then, it's gone on a journey to how can we rip them off? How can we strip it, the food, for instance, of anything that's good and costly, and fill it with anything that's cheap, and still make it look the same.
But so, in that regard, I would argue, and you might agree with me, that was probably, like, I haven't gone into this history, but my guess is that's due to a stripping away of regulations. Like, I remember back, even when I was a kid, there were laws against, like, comparing your products. Now you're allowed to talk shit in your ad on TV. It's like, yeah, we have Dawn. This other ditch soap is like trash. Look how bad it is for the environment. It's
Right.
awful.
Well, yeah,
And I feel like that was kind of the...
Exactly. Companies have a lot more money than the government, and they sue
own-
constantly. They constantly do what Donald Trump does to scare off anyone who, tries to go up against him. he sues them, and
Well-
that's what companies do with the government. In fact,
Except that
Google
it's-
and some of the major companies right now are suing the government back, where the government is trying to protect the rights of consumers. Poor little old us
Right.
consumers.
Oh. But so that's the thing is it's a corporate country, and when it comes down to it, so like these corporations, they don't just use the stick, right? They don't just use the negative reinforcement. They also use the positive, which is codified bribery in America and I believe Canada too, right? We do that shit too. Like gapping on it now. Not endorsing, but like
I just bought a big bag of allspice online. Allspice, big bag of it. And I used it a few times before I actually checked the label.
Oh, right.
And guess what the label said? Has the taste of the following spices. What does that mean? It could be plastic that has the taste of.
Okay, but we are in Canada, so at least we have like decent regulations surrounding our food. Like
They're constantly being battered backwards.
Are
Back
they?
again, though, yeah. But we're off topic, aren't we?
I love how it goes that way, though. So, well, we are, in the end, it always cycles back, though, because America is the land of deregulation. They still have shit like Red 5 and Yellow 7, like, in a lot of their food products. That shit's illegal everywhere else in the world.
Because those food companies are paying off senators in the United States big bucks and representatives.
That's what I
And
mean,
that,
yeah.
Unfortunately,
It's bribery.
it's usually what it comes down to.
100%. But it's codified bribery. It's legalized bribery. And then if the politicians are like, no, you can't bribe us, then they're like, oh, then we'll sue you. Like, they get it both ways. I think we get the point of this this section. Basically, everyone is on the side of this assassin.
Absolutely staggering in terms of the expected reaction from the media
Yes.
and the actual reaction from the public.
Yes. And
This is a momentous
gap.
occasion in terms of just that gap. Yeah.
well, so that
Between reality and fantasy.
and
Where that gap shows up once in a while. These days, almost every day, on the hour.
with every major issue,
With
I would
politics,
say.
with
Yeah.
marketing, with going out onto the street, with people who are trying to look like beautiful, and
With the election.
everything, and with
the election, 1,000,000%. The media was talking like they lived in a fantasy fucking world where it's like, oh, Kamala is so brat. And like like it's like the average citizen is like, bro, I don't give a shit if she's so brat. Like what? Give me something. And then Trump is like, it's the immigrants. I'll send them all away. And they're like, okay, at least he's offering something.
Right.
And the media was just
Let's make
so
America great
delusional.
again. MAGA. I read a post today somewhere where a guy was asking, is it okay for me to wear my MAGA hat at work?
I actually saw a post recently about how I forget, it was like a nerdy gaming tournament, like probably like a Pokemon, I think it was like a Pokemon tournament or something, and they released like a statement saying like you're not allowed to wear like certain inflammatory clothes, like basically it was, and then someone else had to break it down, and they were like, yeah, these assholes have been coming in with like MAGA hats and making everyone uncomfortable, and his whole purpose is to try to get a reaction out of people, and there's a level of that that's just
He's also
very
he's
pathetic.
also selling a shitload of merchandise.
Probably.
Not probably. He sells an unbelievable.
Do you know the guy I'm talking
amount.
about? You're just assuming. Or are you talking about
I'm
Trump?
talking about Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Well, and that feeds into these guys' obsession. It's kind of like the celebrity I love, he's giving me shit directly.
Right. And
Yeah.
another story this week, by the way, is celebrities I love, online influencers, are starting to prescribe medicines for people where there's holes in the legislation, and they're actually supplying pills at enormous profits which do absolutely no good whatsoever.
Well, people like Dr. Oz have been doing that for years, right? On these like infomercial
Who's
TV
the guy on
shows.
TV where the religious guy who sells little packets of holy water, little plastic packs?
Okay, how
Holy
is that
water.
different? To be honest, I'm gonna go on record.
Peter Poppin.
I would rather buy Belle Delphine's bathwater. Remember when I told you about that shit? Like
Okay,
she's like
yeah.
she was like an OnlyFans girl, one of the first
Gwyneth's
OnlyFans girls.
vaginal candles, vaginal scented
I mean,
candles.
I feel like half of the people buying those are like wine moms, but then the other half are just like people like me who think it's funny, and it's like, okay, fuck it, let's buy her
Right.
pussy candle, like.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so to finish the CEO conversation, I want to see how much you would laugh at how the community has been responding to the situation.
Okay.
I figure we could start off with this short clip of Bill Burr, which I think you'll just probably agree with dead on. I fucking love Bill Burr. He is the best. And then we'll just do a scroll through of some funny memes that people have made. Okay, so let me know how many of these you find funny.
Hello, sir. Did you witness anything strange in the area?
So, witnesses of the
Of
assassin.
the shooting.
What, witness?
Yes.
Is this camera on?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, no, I ain't seen nothing. I ain't seen nothing. Matter of fact, I'm blind in my left eye and 43% blind in my right eye. I don't see much of nothing. Matter of fact, I can't even see you, sir.
I don't think he saw anything. The sir is that's the punchline, right?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, this is brief.
Kids, he's such a great guy. And then you find out, whoa, what's going on in New York?
Not as much of a meme, but let's just do this quick.
Talking about that CEO got fucking whacked.
Oh my god, dude.
You know what's funny? I was sitting there reading an article guy. They go, oh my god, he's such a great guy. He had a wife and kids, and he's such a great guy. And then you find out he and the other guys he's working for are getting sued for $121 million for dumping his stock and not letting the other people know.
In the lawsuit, he and multiple other United Health executives are accused of offloading something like 15 million shares of stock.
It's like, there's your motive.
It's crazy.
Nancy Pelosi just made $9 million.
You're criminals.
Yeah.
Nancy
Money,
Pelosi's
money, money.
stock
Yeah.
trades saw a 65% return last
Oh, that
year.
makes me so mad
This
too.
comes as
Fuck
Congress
Nancy.
has stalled talks on banning lawmakers from trading stocks.
Yes,
They're
please.
gangsters, dude.
They are gangsters.
Fucking gangsters. And then one of them gets whacked or something, they're like, oh, good, he's such a good guy. It's a dirty game.
Such a good guy.
Healthcare, dirty game.
It's a dirty game.
Whoa, what's going on?
Well,
Do you disagree with anything? No, right?
No, and this is
So on
just
point.
the show's only just begun. Trump is
Yep.
exactly this.
Oh,
The
yeah.
gangsters are moving
Well-
into the White House now, and
I mean, I've always...
the show is yet to begin.
Yeah, that's, I guess, a very sad note, which is that, like, as bad as the Democrats were with healthcare, it's gonna be worse. Like, and I'm never gonna be the guy who, like, criticizes voters. It's 100%, in my opinion, the Democrats' fault that they lost, and they should have ran on better messaging, even if they were lying. That being said,
Well, of course,
things are
marketing
gonna be
doesn't
worse.
work. I mean, you know,
I know what you're trying to say.
Republican marketing, you know, it didn't change anybody's mind.
So here's the next thing. Did you know there are people who are celebrating the deaths of the CEOs? Well, of course I know them. They're me.
Okay.
There was a United Healthcare CEO murderer lookalike competition held. Yup. We are going there,
this
people.
is very macabre, right? This is very grotesque and macabre. But this is springing from the way people feel about the health system and the way it treats them. So this is their response.
Yep.
This is reality, folks. This is anger. It's bitterness. This is people who have been treated like dirt by the health system.
And even if some of these people were not directly treated like dirt by the healthcare system, statistically speaking, everyone here knows someone who has. But I just realized, I do want to draw attention to this person here wearing this shirt. Deny, defend, depose. Those are the words that were written on the bullets.
That's specifically addressed to the healthcare industry.
100%. It's a reference to a book that was criticizing the healthcare industry, and this is exactly what they do.
Follow, like the 3 rules that Donald Trump follows: attack,
never give up.
Deny,
is the third one.
Deny, and then always claim victory, no matter what happens. So their slogan, their propaganda slogan that they live by is deny, defend, and what is that?
Depose.
And
so the depose part is, I forget exactly the context of that. Either way, this is a parallel that
says no.
This is a parallel that directly works, and just look at it. What is the parallel? Capitalism, right? Both Trump used those strategies to make profits throughout his career.
Yeah.
So do the insurance agencies. So moving on, this is another classic meme, but for this. So he shoots a healthcare insurance CEO. Okay, nice. Escapes on a bicycle. Oh, I love that. Writes deny, defend, depose on the bullet shells. Leaves a decoy backpack full of Monopoly money for the pigs. By the way, so this is the breaking news from today or last night. They found a backpack that they believe was the suspect's, and it was full of Monopoly money.
Wow. So he was going to leave that all over the scene of the crime and didn't, or?
Well, he left it in Central Park, so he biked through Central Park.
So he never had a chance to
ditched.
unload it. He probably
maybe that was part of his
throw it over the body.
I mean, my man made an impression anyway. But yeah, like
and there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of bitterness, and it's almost like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of situation. It's something that I've heard some people talking about, where in the age of Bonnie and Clyde, they were heroes because the banks were ripping people off at the time. And people were bitter and the banks were rich. So the bankers were walking around happy with the world. The world is a beautiful place. And Bonnie and Clyde came along and people loved them because they took a bit of that money away.
I as a leftist, I don't want to get like too excited or anything. Things generally tend to mellow out, unfortunately, but the attitude in the air right now is the most class consciousness I've seen from the working class that I've ever seen. I mean, this is a very similar situation to like even Marie Antoinette, like let them eat cake, right? It's this moment of realizing, oh my God, why have we been letting you get away with this for so long?
How much these people actually despise us and pretend
and treat us
care
like animals
and like us.
Yeah.
We're
treated like
cattle.
That's
the issue here.
While they lie to us.
I'm not left like you. I'm in the middle. But this, to me, is not capitalism. This is capitalism gone wrong. And this is people just joyful at finding new ways to rip us off.
I love that we're agreeing. I would still argue that this is just a natural state that capitalism eventually reaches. Like, you might argue late stage capitalism, but then if it inherently becomes rotten, what's the... Anyway, so that's just another... Oh, here is artwork. Someone made this beautiful artwork. Deny, defend, depose. This is unifying people. It's crazy. On the left, the right... Okay, this is just a silly meme. Oh, that looks like BB. What? Okay, we gotta arrest him. We gotta arrest him twice now for doing genocide, but also killing a CEO. Which is worse? Which is worse?
You gotta understand that for the healthcare industry, this is just a snack. This is a bit of a problem, and they're going to pour a lot of money into a publicity campaign, into a propaganda campaign, like underlining the fact that they really do care, and they will allow certain claims for a while. It'll go into the AI. Allow a few more claims now. Move the line a little.
They
bit.
probably just turned the AI off. Because, so this is what I was mentioning to you earlier. Oh. I'll have to cut that. So this is what I was mentioning to you earlier. I don't know the validity of this, but I wouldn't be surprised. My girlfriend works in a pharmacy. They're seeing 0 denied claims this morning, when usually close to half are denied / requiring prior authorization. Everything is going through today.
Well, of course they put
Health
a suspension
insurance
on that. And
Yeah.
they charge the losses to marketing and publicity.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
So,
they're not making losses. Exactly. They have
No,
strats for these.
the losses because they're giving claims that they wouldn't have normally
No, I
given.
know. So
That
it gives
will
them
be written off.
it gives them tax benefits. Exactly.
That's
Yeah. This is I've never even seen Sopranos, but I realize that this is a Sopranos meme. Chipotle raised its prices again, and someone just asked who the CEO is. What's this motherfucker's name? Like, people are mad.
It's dark humor.
It is dark humor.
It's very, very dark humor, but it comes from a real place, not a fantasy world of the healthcare industry, but from a real place.
Yeah. You would probably love this.
Open up your eyes, it's a brand new nation. People got a prize and a blood celebration. You always used to say that life is not a paid vacation, and living is a curse if you ain't got the person haven. And we could all be free so long as we ain't all too patient. Be thrown upon the roads, deny, defend, depose.
Why is that hitting me? God damn.
But you look to the graveyard, the guns got a wave, hitting hearts no matter how hard. Wishing he'd applied for that bulletproof credit card. Money in the Roth for a lucky star. Now he's on that lonesome Jordan road. Not
Yo, we got a new leftist chant, baby!
Yeah, okay. It's very moving, all the
So, and then...
reality that's like coming out of this.
Yeah. No, it's
the real
generally...
emotion that's
It makes me
pouring out of
happy.
that.
And, like, there's so little joy in this world right now. It's kind of nice to feel unified with so many people over injustice.
Well, yeah, that sort of thing doesn't make me happy, but like, because I think it's coming from a lot of like pain and people who have gone through enormous like financial difficulty and.
I think what I
whatnot,
mean by
and
that is like...
it's just a surprise turn of events that's boomeranged right back onto the healthcare industry.
But 100%. But that's what I mean. What I mean is like these people who have been in pain for so long have, for so many of them, that's why they're like letting out like this.
They've actually got a voice here
for the first time.
For the first time, yeah.
No one has listened for decades.
No,
right?
They have been shut down, shut off. The volume has been turned down to 0 on the microphone
and
they had.
This is, we don't need to watch this, but I'm just going to point out that I had even forgotten about this, but Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, like the first one, his original job was he worked at one of these healthcare insurance agencies, and his boss was a giant asshole who was denying this sweet old lady like healthcare, basically.
Right.
And
well,
it's just,
this is in all the.
It's been an
South
eternal
Park,
issue.
It's
Yeah.
always on TV, but it's just part of the fabric of
constantly dismissed.
what the United States is about.
Oh, this, I think, I don't know, you might love this, but suddenly, the day after the shooting, Elon Musk starts carrying his child around. Suspicious. My man has never seen his children in his life. And then
So
people,
what do you think that story
well,
is?
people
He's
made
a
this
family man now?
People made this comparison to this famous story where this guy's a snake oil like grifter, right? And he comes in and he uses this child to like gain sympathy, right? It's like, oh, he's a family man. You can't hurt him.
Right. Well, Elon Musk is a good example of what just happened with UHN. It's like he cares so little about what anybody thinks.
Oh, yeah.
His behavior
Well,
becomes
he's
more
separate.
and more despicable, more and more hateful, and he rejoices in it more and more.
He's a nasty person.
He's a very nasty.
Okay, what do you think about
human
this?
being,
I don't know enough about 401ks to know if this is true, but
working class people realizing that 401k gets a boost every time, or because they save money. 401k is their retirement.
oh my God! So it's because the CEO's not getting paid like $500,000 anymore.
Because they're going to save a little money on their, medications and healthcare.
That's okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, 401k is an American thing, right?
Yeah. 401k is when you own shares that are for your retirement plan, so it has special tax rules.
Is the cure to male loneliness executing the ruling class at Point Blank?
Yeah. Okay, well, how many more of these are there?
All right,
These
I think
could
we're
just
good.
go on
I think we're good. Oh,
forever, right? It really is an astonishing
This one was a little funny to me. Everyone's been joking about how insanely hot he is, because apparently he was at like a coffee shop,
right.
And
he was flirting with the.
Well,
not
she
a
was
coffee
flirting with
shop,
him.
That was the hostel he stayed at.
Yeah, and she was flirting with him and asked him to pull down his mask, so he
Right.
did. And like he's cute as fuck, and so like this chick is like, United Healthcare CEO gunman lookalike contest in my room tonight at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
People are doing artwork.
Well, yeah. Just whip through them now because
Yeah.
they're all.
So we got him. He's Robin Hood killing like the banker. Dead CEO memes.
Yeah.
Another Bill Burr. You gonna die for some healthcare? Someone is. Oh, this one I thought you'd like. Americans voting. No. We're into that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're at this place, and I think that covers it.
And I think all of them say the same thing, that the system stinks and rich people don't care because they get great coverage and so a few people die, or maybe a few 100,000. So, that's the cost of good health care.
which it isn't. That's the other. So
Of course, it's not.
we have good healthcare
it's
here.
another lie, right?
It's just another lie to justify exorbitant
people off.
profits, right? For
Yeah.
their shareholders.
Yeah.
We touched on it just to finish. The CEO, what was his name again?
Thompson.
Thompson.
Brian Thompson.
He was directly responsible for implementing an AI system that would basically decide the claims for the claims adjusters, which sounds psychotic, because it is, and the AI ended up denying over 90% of claims. That is an inhuman level of malice, I would say, because it particularly, like, the whole idea there is to create a level of a barrier.
His job is
between-
to screw people over. I mean,
Exactly. And so he literally figured out, technically he did his job very well, because he figured out the most efficient way to screw people over without getting scrutiny on the company.
Makes a few $100 million a year, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. I think we can stop talking about that, even though that is huge news, though.
I think it's huge cultural news.
Yes.
Is
it wasn't
what
just
amounts
big
to.
news, it became cultural news.
It became a big window on American society and the system, and how the divide between the rich and the poor, and how happy the rich are with that divide, and how unhappy the poor are, and how frequently it's glossed over every day.
How comfortable
and
the rich
once
are
in a
with
while,
that. Yeah.
something like this hits them in the back of the head and says, no, you're living in a fantasy world.
And you see them getting a little scared, and there's...
and they hire more security.
There's a little bit of... I don't know if schadenfreude is the right term for it, but I think that is, actually. Like, it's just, like, getting happy at something that feels like karmic justice.
Yeah.
Right? To some degree.
Yeah,
to some degree. Anyway, all right, so...
So
move on to
moving
the
along,
next. Yeah.
There's also Syria. You know, Syria just exploded, and so basically the Middle East has always been a hotbed, has always been, like, you know, impossible to say which way it's going to go and where the next war is going to be, and now that is like going to be divided up between three revolutionary groups, the rebel groups, one of which is ISIS, and they're going to be fighting over it, and there's a vacuum right now and of power, and into that vacuum is going to get sucked a lot of people.
From what I understand, former Al-Qaeda are going to potentially be the ones to take it over.
They would like to take it over, but Turkey was behind the whole downfall, and was financing the rebels. So they may have a big say in it.
Everything is still breaking. I heard a little bit of pushback about that, I think, earlier today, so I don't want to make any statements on that about Turkey. Rigid type at Erdogan. I don't even know how to say his first name. I'm sorry about that. But, like, whenever I hear it, I think rigid type. Anyway, Erdogan is an awful person, obviously. He's a fucked up fascist, obviously. We know that.
The most vile and violent countries on the face of the earth, governments on the face of the earth. And he's gone. And
you're talking about Assad.
Yeah.
So this is I guess the crux of the situation here, though, is the fact that an awful fascist is out, but
nobody knows who's coming through the front door.
It's a typical power vacuum, and the top contender, I think it's mostly just like former Al-Qaeda.
But all
that's
this
like,
was begun
gonna-
years ago by
it's gonna
Arab
get, but just to
Spring.
finish, it
You know?
it's most likely going to get very much worse before anything gets better.
Right.
There's always
Okay.
going to be that area of chaos.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
So,
no,
area-
you didn't. No,
Okay.
that wraps it up beautifully. Yeah.
All right. Let's get away
Do
from
you want a quick tech sort of interesting tech
tech
thing?
drop.
Yeah. AI and voices. It's this week. One of the interesting pieces of news was that cloned customer voices are now beating bank security. So they can record your voice, which is used by banks to verify your account, and cloned voices get through just like that. So be careful using your voice for your bank account.
It seems so obvious now because, like, yeah,
Yeah,
but wow.
yeah. Who would have thunk it? Yeah.
Well, okay, you know where my mind goes then with that? Is the kind of silly level of trust that a lot of us put in these corporations like Apple. It's like, oh, yeah, I have my bank on here. My life is tied to this phone,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah.
You
need what? Oh, you need my
You have it.
social security number.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Well-
what else? Oh, my photograph.
Well, and then
okay.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you have a new update where it's like, oh, I can unlock my banking with just my voice. That seems more convenient, without questioning a single freaking thing.
Right. Oh, and you need to see my passport before I can do that. Okay.
And I'm not
It's my
putting
passport.
this on the customers. I would argue that, like, there is this gross area. If a company at a certain point, at this point, honestly, company updates should be checked with government regulators.
Look, it's quite like obvious. These companies have so much power over us because we cannot get
yeah.
through the day without using these machines and these
We've gone
these
too far.
programs, and they know it, and they take advantage of it, and so they extract every last bit of information that they can make money off, and who knows what that's gonna lead to in the future. I mean, they have voices now which they can do whatever they want with. They have your information. They can do it, on and on.
Yeah, well, but so my point there, this is going back to, I guess, I'm talking about like a dream leftist society for a second here. For a second, yeah, see, he hates this because it's like, he's like, fantasy world. Okay, so what I'm suggesting, and I don't even think this is super extreme, it's just the only issue is that the world is already run by corporations, so there's no going back. But in an ideal situation, a democratically elected government would regulate updates by a company, at least run it by these regulatory systems, because otherwise these companies could do anything.
Okay, well here, look.
Like sifting personal information, stuff
Some
like that.
countries do. When you say the whole world, no.
Okay, fair.
Europe is not on the same capitalistic model as North America. America, the United States, is cutthroat capitalism. In Europe, it's almost like a different economy. And in the Nordic countries, almost different. And if you look at Australia, let's talk about the other thing that happened this week. In Australia, they have passed a law whereby under 16s cannot go to social websites. Those sites will be fined if they allow under 16-year-olds. That's the damage that Australia thinks is being done to teenagers.
Do you
And
disagree with them?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
agree with them. And in Europe, just to underline this different economy thing, in Europe, there are far more legal cases against these big software companies than there are in North America. And they're not allowed to do all kinds of things and gather all kinds of information that here they take it for granted and they just take.
I mean, okay.
Because they're enabled by the government.
Okay. I think, like, England, I'm not exactly...
England is more similar to the United States.
Okay. Gotcha. So on the... I'm glad we agree there. That was the only pushback I was going to make. On the topic of the Australia 16-year-old thing, I think that's fucking great.
I think it's fantastic.
But
it's at least a recognition that these guys are doing damage. There's a massive rise in depression, anxiety, in all kinds of problems that are coming. Just being able to talk with another human being, a lot of people feel uncomfortable, because they've never done it before, because everything's online. And we're going around acting as if this is of no importance or it's not happening, and it is.
Well, so, and I don't know if you're aware of this, I'll work really hard and I'll edit it in right here again. Do another editing. I'm learning to edit again. That the, like China, China's policy that I believe it happened, God, time has become so weird, but it was at least like a year and a half or 2 years ago, maybe to 3. And they implemented like a 3-hour internet policy for people under a certain age.
Yeah, but don't they have to spend the rest of the time worshipping the leader?
No!
They also have the Are You Pink or Are You Blue software that follows absolutely everyone around, and we'll talk about that on another occasion.
Okay, yes, we will do a China episode eventually. We'll both come prepared, armed to the teeth.
Armed to the teeth.
But I'm the only reason I bring this up is because, like, you just directly said that this is a great policy, and it's just curious to me that when China does it for the sake of their people and their people's mental health, it's like we have ulterior, like, you didn't suggest that there were ulterior means. Deal. Deal. All right. There was a tech thing, another tech thing that you had mentioned earlier in the week to me.
What was that? Cyborg beetles? Oh, the antimatter truck.
Okay, that I think is super fascinating. Yes. So tell me the story. So, like,
Okay, first of all, there's a thing called antimatter.
Fair, we should explain this.
You know about that.
Yes.
So you tell them what antimatter is.
Antimatter is the highest energy per density source that is known about in the universe. And we've been able to create it number of times only in a lab. Recently,
when it comes into contact with matter, it's like a black hole in outer space. It sucks everything in and causes a huge explosion.
I believe it's the scientific term. It's called, like, destruction, or like there's a specific term for it. But basically, think of oil and water hitting together, and then just immediately it starts igniting itself, like. Basically, all of the energy that is contained within that matter gets ignited.
It's like
instantly.
It's like Batman and Joker, the Joker in the same room at the same moment.
Okay, yeah, there you go, DC fans.
Yeah.
accurate.
So anyway, so what they did this week and what they're doing right now is they're actually transporting it around in a truck. They're moving it around, and of course they're saying, "Don't worry, it's perfectly safe."
Well, just to clarify, the method here is they use, I believe, extreme magnets on different sides to basically pull all of the matter away, and then they formulate the antimatter in the middle so that it doesn't interact with actual matter.
And that environment has
How
to be...
cool is that, though? It's so cool. It's so cool.
Old technology is so cool, you know, like toasters.
It's the end
are
of the
cool
world
too.
over here.
But that's what the truck is. It's an environment where there's this magnetism, and it's keeping all matter away from this stuff, because if matter does get there...
Okay, but what is this truck transportation? That seems insane to me.
Well, they
Do they have like a private
want-
escort? Like they've closed off the entire road?
Well,
It's
as
like
you
helicopters.
as you said yourself, it can only be created in a lab. But there's all sorts of other labs at universities and whatnot, and with people who would love to get their hands on some of this, so that they can experiment with it too, and increase our knowledge of antimatter. And that's what they're doing, is they're delivering it to all these needy people who have a need for antimatter.
Needy people?
Yeah.
No, but
they
this makes
need
no
antimatter
Okay, but
to
from what...
study it, to
Oh.
further the study of it.
That seems dumb to me, because from what I understand, you should create, like, you should create... Where you create the antimatter is where it should
the
disappear.
End of the world.
Okay, to clarify, I believe in the research of antimatter. Once again, every time any scientific advancement issue comes up that relates to the end of the world, my opinion is probably going to be the same.
Let's
Just regulate
give
that
it a
shit.
chance.
No, it's just regulate it. And like, yes, sure, the argument that you're gonna make is like, oh, but the government is not there. They're so conservative. They're not gonna regulate it. They're too old and too dumb. And I would be like, yeah, but they should still do it.
Right. I remembered what the tech thing was that I talked to you about a few days ago, and that's the no rear window car.
Yes, which
The first one sold in England was the,
think that should be illegal.
Polestar 4. But the Jaguar has a new model where there is no rear window. It is a TV screen, and in your rear view mirror, you're getting the signal from a camera at the back of the car being fed, and you're actually seeing a video image of the street behind you.
So, what I go to directly when it comes to something like this is the fact that statistically speaking, manual elements in this situation, for example, a regular mirror, will work 9 times out of 10. More than that.
But this will allow you to
But-
sit in the back facing the rear window, and the rear window is a TV screen where you can now have widescreen TV in a car. This is where we're headed. Why should it be?
Regulation. Oh my God.
And also you'll have a much clearer view, because you'll be able to see the entire street behind you and adjust how much you see, right? Whereas with some of these little cars, right, like mine, you know, it's such a tiny window, you don't see the truck coming up and like about to hit you from the side.
I realized that you're making like the argument that the company would make.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's all marketing.
so, but this is an area where we agree, like, we're both anti-corporation and how big and powerful they become, right? You agree that they should be regulated by the government. Is the disagreement just that you don't have any faith in a government regulating making regulations for the right reasons?
No,
Like,
it's not just that. It's like at a certain point with technology, the cat's out of the bag. So let's take that metaphor.
okay.
If the cat's out of the bag, you can have a committee come along and say, well, what should we do with the cat? And some people will say, well, the cat should never have been let out. Others will say we put it back in the bag.
Well, it's Pandora's
And
box.
others are making money from the cat being out of the bag, and they are not going to allow the cat to go back in the bag. So they control the government. So the government is saying, there's a lot of good reasons for letting this cat like run around.
Okay, I think I have a pretty good counter argument to that. The nuclear bomb.
Well, the cat was out of that bag. That's
That was
what
Pandora's
Russia,
box.
That's what Putin
But-
is using to bully people all around the world.
We're not going much farther than that. Like AI, yes, AI could get crazy out of control. That shit should be regulated like crazy.
Unlike every other technology. that's
No,
ever come
everything
out.
should be regulated. That's my point. But
Yeah,
if
but
you're
who's gonna
talking about a
regulate it?
Pandora's box of technology, that was the nuclear bomb, right? Like, I have become death itself. Like
Right.
the eternal regret.
But it doesn't mean we're not going to get blown up soon.
But my point, okay. But,
Iran could do it tomorrow.
but my point is, it hasn't happened, has it?
No, it hasn't. But
How
a lot,
long-
of,
and
a
we've
lot,
had
a lot of other
nukes.
things have happened. And here's the thing. When you have something that's really good and could be really bad, which is, let's say, technology, then who's going to decide what should happen with this? You talk about a regulatory body, but who's going to sit on this, and who are they going to be voting for? Like the progress? What kind of progress? Corporate progress? Technological
Not
progress?
No.
But how are they going to decide? This could possibly hurt
Why do
people.
you make it sound
so land all the planes
impossible?
now. Land all the planes now because they could crash. It's like hard to draw the line is what I'm trying to say.
No.
You know what I mean.
It's not hard to draw the line. That's just like
Good.
that's the explanation that liberals use to like all of a sudden justify like, oh, as a leftist, suddenly you're gonna have to decide extreme things. So who's gonna draw the line? It's like, who's drawing the line now? These lines are fucked.
Well, in Europe, the governments are drawing the line because you don't have unfettered capitalism. Companies are not allowed
You say
to
that
just run
exclude,
around like
you
a bunch
say
of
that dramatically
wild
excluding
children.
England, though.
Yeah,
you're
no.
just like Europe, but not England,
No.
because they have been doing austerity politics, like.
Well, not
for
England. We can
generations.
do that on another show, but not
Sure.
England because they spawned America in the first place, and now
True.
they've been copying America ever since.
I mean, they were
kicked out.
they
So
were the OGs. It's true.
Yeah,
they were
they-
like the OG imperialists.
They were the original manufacturers, and I got a couple of other notes, by the way, like a climate note.
Oh,
Interesting climate note. Do you want to?
give it to me.
Yeah. Okay, so the ocean was recently, the scientists were looking at why it's been the hottest year ever, right? This last year, which it has. It's been the hottest year ever. And the
I've
temperature
noticed
is...
it.
Yeah?
I mean, it was pointed out. I mean, maybe last year was a little similar, but every time we've gotten a snowfall, that shit melts immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
By nightfall, like, it was colder in the morning going to work yesterday than when I left. It was like, should I have called an Uber? I kind of walked home.
And they're
today,
under
but-
3 feet of snow in Michigan and parts of New York State, which is the reverse of what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to get the snow, and New York and Michigan and Chicago are supposed to not be so bad. But here's the deal. So they have figured out, apparently, why the temperature is suddenly rising much faster than they thought it was going to. And that is because of the interconnectedness, the complex interconnectedness of nature.
I was gonna say,
So here
that
we
makes
go.
sense, yeah.
They figured out that low-lying clouds reflect a lot of sunlight, from the sun,
Right.
and a lot of heat, and that's saving us from overheating to a certain
Bacon
extent.
alive, yeah.
And low-lying clouds are disappearing. Why? Because the ocean is warming, and a warm ocean holds more moisture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't evaporate so quickly, and it's the evaporation that causes the low clouds, which reflect the sunlight, which protect the planet.
So we're looking
There
at
you
a potentially, maybe not exponential, but it's not going to be, what's the other one? Direct. Basically, things are going to escalate.
Right, right.
Not just at a solid rate. Like, it's not like, oh, every year
It's
the
this-
shoreline's
this-
going to
this
raise
bit.
2 inches.
Yeah.
It'll be like 2 inches, 6 inches, 15 inches,
Exactly.
32 inches.
Exactly.
You're gone. Like, your property's done.
But on the positive side, a positive note is that
Tsunamis.
as the ice caps melt in the North and South Pole, it's a treasure trove for anthropologists who are discovering all sorts of things that were left there by previous humans. And it
Really?
yeah, that was a story this week too. And
Motherfuckers
there's
were up
this
there?
treasure trove of stuff being discovered as the ice melts.
Okay, that's cool, but
So
also...
we're learning
I'm
more
gonna-
about ourselves as we behave just as stupidly as we ever have.
I'm also gonna straight up say, like... You know who's the most obsessed with the Arctic?
The Russians.
No, Nazis.
Oh, Nazis.
Flat earthers, anti-Semites. It's like a haven for conspiracies.
Oh.
Because it's like kind of unexplored, you know? It's like flat earthers believe there's like an ice shield wall that's like too high to climb. That eventually,
Like in Game of Thrones.
like kind of like in Game of Thrones, it's such nerdy shit. Like, it's literally just some fucking nerd came up with this in his basement, and he was a Nazi. Like, there was definitely like memorabilia around him while he was like
Right.
coming up with this map. And there's like different unseen societies and stuff like that. These are the kinds of things you will learn
He
if
probably
you
wasn't-
watch like a
he
flat Earth
probably
documentary.
wasn't given the breast long enough as a child.
I honestly think that you could take the flat Earth thing and directly see how it's a through line into MAGA supporters. This society is not giving you shit. You feel like nothing makes sense, whatever. Conspiracy, people who love conspiracies dive in for a reason. And there's a reason why conspiracies have become more and more popular. At this point, like, you have Joe Rogan, the most popular podcast in the world, just frequently, every now and then he'll have a Nazi on talking about these conspiracy theories.
Well, conspiracies...
As if it's like, oh, sometimes this is a matter of opinion. That's so fascinating that
Well,
you bring it
sure.
up that way.
But conspiracies are popular because, A, they're much more entertaining than the truth. The truth is a drag.
There you go.
And B, the truth is extremely complex, and we live in a very
Yep.
complex world that is impossible to explain. It's like you explain to me, how, the transport system, the bus system works out on the street. It's incredibly complex, or any system. So we want an easy world, and one of the ways of making the world easy is conspiracy theories. They are simple explanations for everything that's gone wrong,
100%.
and they give us someone to blame.
100%. I would just push back by saying I could absolutely explain all of the issues in the world using leftist and Marxian ideology.
Well, I know that. That's why I have the deepest respect.
But Yes, no, you nailed it on the head. That's why conspiracies pop off. That's also because it gives you a sense of internal comfort that you're not getting from anywhere else, right?
Right.
There's also a sense of community, and that I think is a central part of why Trump became so big.
Why everything is so fucked up.
I just to get towards the finish now. Do you agree that Trump is more of a symptom of this escalating world that we're in, and it's kind of almost obvious that he would be in this position now?
Yeah, sure. Because people are getting to the point where they just don't care. They're angry.
Yep.
They want to hurt someone. They want to lash out at something. It's the old, the boss yells at you at work. You come home and you kick the dog, like.
Or beat your wife. Yeah.
Or beat your wife in more cases, and.
Especially if you're a cop, but.
So there you go.
Yeah, so I guess we're in a brave new world.
A brave new world. Maybe we'll do a quote from the Brave New World next week.
Yeah, bring it in. You've been reading it, right?
Yeah. And of course,
Very
one of the central features of Brave New World is Shakespeare. It's compared to a Shakespearean play. And but it's
been so long since I read it.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's irrelevant. It's Brave New World is, where everyone is happy all the time. And it takes a lot of engineering to do that. They make stunted little people
going for that
who
complacency.
Are happy to work in the mines.
Complacency, right, is what the government is trying to establish within the society.
Yeah, they want us to be happy little pigs.
As long as you do your job, right?
Yeah, and at the pig trough, we don't notice that the slop in the pig trough is just like nothing more than
I feel like
sugar.
This is for another episode for sure, but I feel like America's not near. That's like so far down the line, I think.
At least 2 years.
Okay, there we go. Well, we can finish it there. I guess, you know what? We've done this consistently. End of the world. Has your opinion changed on how the world might end? Do you still... Last episode, you alluded to you thinking that the most likely thing at this point is AI. I think this could be fun. Every episode we just... Has anything changed? Like, is it going to be nuclear war by humans, or do we still think that AI 15 years down the road?
Well, there's also climate breakdown.
There it is. That's a big one today.
And this week there was a major thing happen with climate, like global warming, and that's the Amazon. There was a protective agreement put into place 9 years ago or so because soy production was causing the rapid leveling of the Amazon, destruction of the Amazon. And this agreement stopped that soy production. But now big corporations are clamoring and putting on so much pressure that the government has decided to let them go ahead and destroy the Amazon jungle. So
Jesus. Okay, I didn't know. That's okay. So do you think
not
the balance
quite
has
the
changed?
end of the world, but the end of the Amazon jungle?
Well, okay.
The Amazon forest.
But so we're talking the end of the world is going to live on without us, rightfully so.
Humans.
But
you mean humans?
Humans.
Or
The end of humanity. Do you think that global warming has outtaken like nuclear war, AI? These other issues, like
I think
starvation.
They're
I don't think
all
starvation's
caused by man. No, starvation is not a problem.
Yeah.
We solved starvation
with capitalism, which is fucked up to say.
We largely solved disease, starvation and war, although war is making a big comeback the last few years.
Well, and
But,
I would argue that war could only be a big issue if they have nuclear arms, right? Like, and cause an
Well, no, it's pretty bad
escalatory.
right now, and it's breaking open. Like the Syria thing could cause localized war, which breaks out. After the
Fair.
Second World War, there was a feeling that it was the end of all wars.
Yeah, that's what I grew up with. So
And Putin laughed at us for that. Like when he invaded
He was so right.
Ukraine, all the West went, "Oh, really? You know, this is
it's very accurate.
18.
Yeah, we're
For
beyond
God's
wars.
sake."
Yeah,
You know, and Putin just went, "Oh, you fucking idiots." You know.
Well, I mean, while simultaneously, we don't have to touch on this too much, but like Israel is just like, no, I have a right to wage war on my neighbors. Actually, shut the fuck up, because America's gonna back me up anyway. And then America's like, we are investigating the issues.
And they're stealing children this week. It came out, the proof.
Stop. I didn't even hear about
They're
that.
stealing children and turning them into Russians. They're giving them new birth
I would not.
certificates.
Okay, that sounds crazy, but I would not be surprised.
They're
They
issuing-
have a cum brigade that extracts semen from their fallen IDF soldiers, like quite literally.
It's a crazy world.
It's a wild world. I mean, that's what happens when you want an ethno-state. That's a bit of a heavy topic. That yeah, we're gonna dive into that in a later episode. Let's get the hell out of here. I guess this week we're dying from global warming.
Global warming.
All right, global warming this week. Peace.